All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to our very first live episode of Tune In Next Week. So those of you guys joining us on YouTube, welcome. And my name is John, and of course, I could not do this without my good buddy and my friend that I am thankful he is being my friend, Brian. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, John?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much, man. And it's good to see you as always.
As you as well.
And so today, for those who didn't recognize that iconic theme song, we are doing another episode of The Golden Girls. And this is actually a special episode of Tune In Next Week and a special episode of Golden Girls because we want to do a special dedicated show for all the moms out there. So happy Mother's Day to all of the moms of the world.
All moms, all shapes, all sizes, all ages.
That's right.
Even dead mommies.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because some of us out there, unfortunately, our moms are no longer with us. So, to those, sadly, my mom is no longer with us, but I know she's watching and enjoying this. She is hanging with all of the Golden Girls in heaven. So, to moms great and small and with us and not with us anymore, this episode is for you. So, first of all, Brian, what did you think of the episode? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. It was unexpected. You mentioned that this was a flashback episode.
Yep.
So I was expecting flashbacks to previous episodes, and I actually wasn't sure if this was legitimate flashbacks to previous episodes before or not. You had to let me know that that's not the case. This is all original material.
Right, exactly.
All OC content.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk more about that later on, but that was one of the things I just really enjoyed about this episode, just the fact that it was a genuine episode and it wasn't just kind of mishmashed of old episodes, because I've certainly seen that in other series, so we'll talk more about that later too. But let's cover some of the particulars here. This is Season 3, Episode 25 of The Golden Girls, entitled Mother's Day. And originally this aired on May 7th, 1988. And The Golden Girls, of course, aired from 1985 to 1992 for 7 years, 7 seasons, 180 episodes.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Now you can also watch The Golden Girls on Amazon via like Amazon Prime, or you can order DVDs, of course, and you can get it on iTunes. I kind of found it interesting that it was not available on like Hulu or Netflix.
Our first Golden Girls episode, the Murder Mystery Dinner episode,
right.
Whatever that was called, I forget.
But Libertine Bell, Case of the Libertine Bell.
Right. Well, you couldn't even get that on Amazon Video at that point in time.
You're right.
We could only have gotten it on iTunes, and that was back in November.
I think so. Yeah, kind of right when we started this podcast.
Yeah.
That was like episode 2 or 3 or something.
Like that, yeah.
It's OG. Tune in next week. So this one, thankfully, now there's a little more options for viewing this. And plot synopsis for this is really simple. I've just got the one right from IMDb. On Mother's Day, the girls, who are all mothers themselves, recall past celebrations of the day. Now, when I kind of like you said in the beginning, when I first read that before I even watched the episode, I was expecting to just see a whole bunch of rehashed previous episodes, but thankfully this was not the case with this one, as we're going to talk about.
Right.
It's such an awesome episode. They nailed it.
Yeah, I liked it top to bottom.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of things that we really like top to bottom, we love our briefcase.
The shiny Samsonite briefcase.
Indeed. So I think it's time to crack open the briefcase and take care of a little business. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, awesome. So first and foremost, we could not do what it is that we do without the recording studio that we use for these podcasts here, which is called JB Recording. That's where we're currently broadcasting live from. Wanted to say thanks to those folks over there for any voiceover or music or any kind of production you might need. Feel free to hit them up at jbrecording.com. You can follow us on all different kinds of social media. We're on Twitter at TuneIn_NextWeek. We are on Instagram, TuneIn_NextWeek. You can listen to us on the TuneIn app, which is a great place for internet radio. So you can go to tunein.com, do a search for us, Tune In Next Week. You can also find us on Podbean, which is a new podcasting, or I guess they've been around for a while, but new to us. We're on Podbean as well. We got our episodes on SoundCloud. Also here on YouTube, where we are streaming live right now. You can check out past episodes there. Please subscribe to us here on YouTube. if you can, so that way you can help us get up to 100 subscribers and we can actually get a better URL than youtube.com/?capital G lowercase L Q E G 472, which certainly has nothing to do with tune in next week. So please subscribe to us, like us here on YouTube, and we'd love to have you here. Did I miss anything?
I think you got all of them.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow, open and shut case with the briefcase. Beautiful. All right. So, okay, there we go. All right, let's stop the business music. Awesome. Cool. So let's jump right into it, man, shall we?
Yes.
All right, you want to kick it off?
Starting off, as per usual, we're at the breakfast table. All the girls are, of course, fully dressed. Well, then again, they're all sitting around the table. They're all fully dressed because they're about to go out to brunch.
Right.
So we've got, they're not making breakfast or anything because they're about to go out for breakfast. Now they're waiting for Sophia. Sophia comes in wearing her Mother's Day corsage, and everyone says, oh, well, we can't really go out. Can't really do anything. We need to get calls from our respective kids first.
Right, absolutely. And later on, one of them says, it means so much for, for the moms to get their calls from their kids on Mother's Day. So if you haven't already, after our podcast, of course, call your mom, tell her Happy Mother's Day.
I have a question.
Sure.
Sophia says something about Phil. She's waiting for a call from Phil.
Yes.
He typically calls her collect because he's strapped for cash,
right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Who is Phil?
Phil is one of her kids. Sophia had, you know what? I wish I knew enough about Golden Girls to answer this, but I know she had multiple kids. Dorothy and Phil are two of them. I think she had, I want to say two more. It might have been four kids, but Phil is her son who is a cross-dresser.
Really?
Yes. So she's basically.
Is he hot?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't even know if Phil's ever made an appearance on the series, but I do not know if when Phil is dressed as a woman, whether or not she is hot. I don't know.
Is he a hot queen?
I don't know. But if those of you who may be able to answer that, tweet us at @TuneIn_next week. Tell us what does Phil look like when he is wearing his womanly garb. But anyway. So Sophia says that Phil's the last one to call. He has not called yet, so she wants to make sure she talks to him before they go out. And of course, the phone rings. Conveniently.
Ring, 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 ring.
Right. And I loved this. I was kind of expecting this when I first saw it, but I think Rose answered, and Rose says, "Oh, it's the Duke of Windsor calling for Queen Elizabeth."
Yes.
And Sophia instantly goes, "Oh, that's for me." And they're doing the classic collect scam, or the collect call scam, where you try to fit your entire message into the space where you record your name. Like, you've done collect calls, right?
No, I've never done a collect call.
Really?
Really, never. Yeah, just never had a reason to. I am familiar with collect calls though, and the commercials about collect calls and things like that.
Right.
The famous one of recent anyway was somebody had a baby and they call collect and says, a call from, we had a baby, eats a boy.
Oh yeah. I remember that one. But yeah, that's exactly what we're referring to. It's the whole, like, the scam of fitting your entire message, or as much of it as possible, in the space where they give you to say your name, which is like 2 seconds. So, of course, Sophia's trying to have an entire conversation in this space. And that she winds up hanging up the phone because she goes, oh damn, they're catching on, they're getting smarter every year. So she finally gets her call, and she just kind of segues into the first flashback here, because she says, oh, I love when Phil calls because it's the only time he calls and he isn't asking for money. So then Dorothy goes, well, yeah, I can remember a time when I can remember Mother's Day where we had to go and ask Stan's mom, her ex-husband, we had to go and ask Stan's mom for money.
And then we flash back into Stan's mom's trailer.
Right.
Now, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Obviously, I put it together that Stan and Dorothy were married. Obviously, at this point in the show, in their lives, they're not still married. They're divorced.
That, I'm not sure, because back in right now in current in the episode timeline, they're divorced. but in the flashback timeline, it was during the time they were still married.
Right, which I'm assuming was pre-Golden Girls era.
Yeah.
Pre-show.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the lore and so forth. But yeah. So
Lore.
the lore of Golden Girls. So they get there because Stan's obviously not doing well in his job selling novelty knickknacks. He's not doing very well. So they need to go and ask Stan's mom for a little bailout money or little helper money. And of course, Stan doesn't want to look inferior to his mom. He doesn't want to be the one to ask for money. So he just throws Dorothy under the bus and says, "No, you do it."
I don't think he does throw her under the bus. I think that's... Well, we do find out later, as the scene progresses, why he has Dorothy ask her, because his mom knows. Well,
Right.
We skipped a couple. There's one thing I wanted to bring up in particular.
Okay.
Before we get into it, Stan sells novelty joke items.
Right.
And they come in to the house, and does he run like a joke shop or something? I know
Yeah.
I'm peppering you with Golden Girl history questions that
That's okay.
I'm expecting you to know, but it's funny to me that he runs what sounds like a joke shop where they sell plastic poop, plastic
Vomit, yeah.
and gags and things like
Right.
that. So he's strapped for cash, but I didn't.
Evidently, that is not a very big
Yeah,
market.
I didn't realize that was his job at first, because Stan and Dorothy, they knock on the trailer door. Stan's mom lets them in. She says hi to Stanley, gives Dorothy the cold shoulder, and
Oh, yeah.
Dorothy makes this joke. Stan's last name is Zobrieski.
Zbornak.
Zabornak, yes, Zabornak. Okay.
Yeah.
She makes a quip that the name Zabornak is becoming synonymous with plastic puke, which I was like, you're married to this guy. Why are
Yeah.
you disparaging the name that you took?
Yeah, your own last name, exactly. So she's a school teacher, so now her last name means nothing. She's a school teacher. She's molding young minds, but she wants to make it known that the last name Zbornak is being associated with plastic vomit.
That was
And
pretty harsh to me.
oh yeah, I agree.
With your husband sitting right there, like that's his name. Of course you're
And
throwing barbs at his mom for being
yeah,
a dick.
and
but
wouldn't that be his mom's last name too? Isn't his mom's last name Zbornak also?
of course, yeah.
I guess so. That's where the jab comes from. I guess.
That's absolutely where it comes from. But
Yeah.
your husband's sitting right there,
Right.
And that's also the name that you chose to take.
Right. Exactly.
What?
So, but then they
What is that?
get a phone call, but we're gonna have to talk to that person later. So anyway, we can't forget the gift, the Mother's Day gift, because this
Yes.
was hilarious, and there was a whole bunch of these little like hidden jokes that were far deeper than I was, that were like kind of fucked up,
Yeah.
So they give Stan's mom a joke, and they give Stan's mom a book. She opens the present up, and it's a book called The Artwork of Adolf Hitler.
Which I didn't know was a thing. I mean, I knew he was an art student, but I didn't know he had published. Is this true? Am I just like reading too far into this?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure.
I'm going to wind up on a list, but I'm going to actually search for that book and see if that's a thing.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what you find, because I know I had heard that he was an art student, but I didn't know that. Like you said, I didn't know if any of his work was published, let alone even still being sold. I mean, I can think of there's a handful of people are probably that are not very, that their names are not very highly regarded in certain households. And I if I were to receive a book, The Artwork of Adolf Hitler, I'd be like, what the fuck is this?
You said this was a joke gift for Stan's mom.
To the audience, it was a joke, but I have a feeling I don't know if the couple had intended it to be a joke.
That's where.
Why would you give your mother that on Mother's Day?
Again, if this was from Dorothy, I can understand. Oh man, Stan's mom is as bad as Hitler. Here's some of Hitler's artwork, because
Right.
you remind me of Hitler, Stan's mom.
Right.
Ugh.
Right. But what's screwed up though is Stan said this is from both of us, and Stan kind of wanted to be, it was adamantly reminding his mom that the gift was from both he and Dorothy. So
why would you give your mom the artwork of Hitler?
I don't know, man. Susan Harris writing for the win right there.
Yeah. I mean, it is a winner. Like I liked it.
Yeah.
But I'm deconstructing it from the point of view of the people giving it. So I just don't get how you can justify giving your mom the artwork of Hitler and being sincere about it, because they absolutely seem sincere.
They did, yeah. They totally did. And hashtag Mother's Day fail, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, but then great line comes right after this. You know, Stan says, this is from both, this is from Dorothy and me. And then Stan's mother says, oh, if I'd have to thank her, I would choke on my words. And Dorothy, without hesitation, goes, please risk it.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
B. Arthur's delivery is probably one of my favorite things about this show as a whole.
So sharp. I love her.
She's so sharp, and her reactions and her delivery just so sharp.
Yeah.
Cool. So Stan says, well, you know what? I would love a cup of tea. And his mom is like, oh, sure, no problem. She gets up, leaves the room, and this is where Stan is like, okay, Dorothy, you need to be the one to ask my mother for money, because I don't want my mother to see me as a failure.
Right.
You know, and like, in a way, I get it. You know, you certainly don't want to come across that way, but, you know, I wouldn't, if I was married to someone, I would not pawn it off on them if it's something that's my screw up, you know? That's just me.
Yeah, his justification, I can understand his justification.
Sure.
I can understand it because my mom holds me in such high esteem. I'm up high on a pedestal. I don't want to seem lesser in her eyes.
Sure.
It would sound better coming from you. I know you guys hate each other. But this is the best way for us. We're in a bind. We need money. Can you do this for me, Dorothy? Do this for me, my wife.
But let me ask you, would you have her ask while you were sitting at the table, or do you think it was better that he left the two alone to talk about it?
I would have handled it the same way he did.
Okay.
Yeah. You?
No, I probably would have stayed there just to represent myself, I guess.
Now, if I were in that situation, I would ask for the money myself.
Yep.
I would do it myself, but I can understand and agree with his reasoning based off of the dynamic of all the characters.
Right. So, and then we find out that his mom's actually not that bad, even though she and Dorothy are always at it. You know, we find out his mom's actually kind of cool.
She drops the whole facade. She just drops the whole act, and it really is an act. He leaves. She comes out with tea, which I loved this gag. She had a bunch of teacups, and she had a tea bag in hers. She puts the tray down. Dorothy says, well, this is just a cup of hot water. So then Mrs. Zabros, what's her name? Zbornak. She takes out her tea bag, dunks it in Dorothy's, and just snatches it back, and just water spills everywhere. And enjoy your tea.
So to the tea drinkers out there, like a single dunk of a tea bag in hot water is pretty much just going to give you, you know, hint of tea flavored water, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big tea drinker, but I know that, you know, when it comes to those tea bags, you kind of have to dip them in a few times before you get the actual flavor in there.
Yeah, dude, you gotta steep it for several minutes.
Yeah.
For an extended period of time. She just gave her just like a
quick little dunk. Yeah.
But yeah. So Stan leaves. The tea thing happens, and then.
So and then she knows exactly what's going on. She goes, "You guys are here looking for money, right?" And Dorothy's just like, "Yeah, how did you know?" You know, and she goes, "How much did you need?" And she says, "Well, we need $500." The mom gives her $1,000, and she goes, "Just take this money, but on one condition: don't tell Stan it came from me, and you know you can have it and whatever." You know, which I thought that was pretty nice of her. And you know, the next part, she goes to give her a kiss, and she's saying like, "Oh, thank you so much." And Stan comes back in, and of course the mom's right back at it. "Oh, thank goodness! I thought she was going to strangle me." You know, and what an interesting Mother's Day. But the best part about that too, right when Stan and Dorothy leave, you know, as soon as they walk clear of the trailer, the mom goes and starts taking down all the pictures that were on the wall of Stan. I was like, that's...
Oh, that was Stan's. Those were Stan's pictures.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I meant to mention this in the beginning of this, but the beginning of this shot I thought was really clever, because the camera starts panning along the wall, and you're looking at different pictures of, I guess, Stan and his relatives, and then the camera points to the door, which has a big window on it, and it looks like a picture of Stan live, and he's knocking on the door, but he has this like dumb look on his face.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really clever. But that was great. So now we're back at the house and sitting back at the table, and now it's Rose's turn. So Rose gets a phone call, and her son Charlie Jr. is calling, because her husband Charlie, who had passed away, they named their first son or whatever, they named their kid Charlie Jr. So he calls, and of course, you're not hearing the other people on the other end. You're hearing just the Golden Girls talking to, on the phone, one side of the conversation. And Rose goes, "Is it cold enough to where you can put your tongue on something metal and it will stick?" And then a second later, she goes, "Sure, I'll hold." So he's going to go outside and apparently put his tongue on a pole.
Yeah, the joke is people from St. Olaf are all dumb enough to put their tongues on metal. Yeah,
and this comes out in the next flashback story, but
Well, it's well, not the next one. The next one, because while Rose is on the phone talking to Charlie, Blanche says, "Oh, I remember my Mother's Day when I spent time with my mom."
Right.
Do you remember specifically why she was recalling this day?
I don't think she talked about why she picked this particular day, but Blanche basically said, "I remember one Mother's Day where I almost ruined it it was something like, I spent one Mother's Day almost getting married and I almost ruined it."
And then, so that was the setup. I had a Mother's Day that I almost ruined by getting married.
Right.
And then she flashes back to a nursing home.
Correct.
Where she's talking to her 90-year-old mom.
Right.
Who's senile, Alzheimer's, who knows, but she's not entirely lucid.
Right.
And here she recounts that same story.
Right.
Which, if you're going to recount a flashback story, now this may just be for budgetary reasons or for flow of the story, because Blanche recalls a pretty complex story.
Right.
But she's basically monologuing it to her mom, who's kind of in and out of it.
Right. But what I liked about this, and I'm interested to hear what you think, but I like that they didn't go Inception style on this, meaning they didn't flash back to the nursing home, then flash back to when Blanche was a teenager. I liked that they didn't do a double flashback. I liked that they did a single flashback and then Blanche gave a monologue about when she was a kid. I liked that.
I was expecting the Inception flashback. I was expecting that the entire time.
Yeah, because I think that whole Inception style thing is more of like a current way of doing things, or like a more, it's kind of like more how we do things nowadays. But back in the day, stylistically, I think it was done more like the way they did it.
I think it can play really well if it's done comedically.
Right.
Granted, I love Inception. I thought it was. I love that idea of dream within a dream within a dream. But comedically, I'm confident somebody's done flashback and a flashback and a flashback comedically.
Yeah.
Before Inception, even I think maybe it was even Wayne's World.
Probably.
I can't remember. I'm not doing this justice, but
yeah. But I mean, think about the audience to whom this show is marketed towards, and I think if they were doing a whole bunch of flashback within a flashback, people might be losing track.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked in this show, in this episode.
Right.
I don't think they could have made it work comedically.
Right.
And it wouldn't have made sense based off of the comedic stylings of these writers, these actresses.
Right.
But it was still just strange to me that Blanche recalls a time where she recalled a time.
Yeah, that's true.
It was just, it was unusual. But so she's in the nursing home and she's monologuing pretty much to her mom about a time where she was in high school. She was 17. It was Mother's Day. This is a point that will come up again later.
Yep.
But she was on the cheerleading squad. There was this 40-year-old out-of-work dude who was super hot, and she wanted to marry him. He asked her to marry her, and she was going to do it because his daughter was on the cheerleading team with her.
Right.
And if Blanche married this guy, she could become that rival's mother and then kick her off the cheerleading squad.
Yeah.
Very well done. So she goes and describes this this scenario, how it happens. She somehow her parents find out, and they all meet at the church. And Blanche was ready to put up a fight. I want to fight my mom on this, but mom's like, "Nah, I'm here to give you my blessing. I'm here to give you away." And Blanche is like, "Well, if you're okay with me getting married, I'm not getting married."
Well, and I have to just interject. The name of the place they were getting married: Bubba's Chapel of Bliss and Tackle Shop.
Yes,
That I figured that had to be mentioned.
it needed to be mentioned.
It needed to be mentioned. So, and of course, her mom is going to give her blessing to get married. So of course she doesn't want to do what her mom wants to do. So she's like, okay, screw it, I'm not going to get married then. And it turns out that, in hindsight, that was one of the best decisions she ever made, or she was, certainly doesn't regret the decision.
Right.
And then her mom winds up going, hey, no, that wasn't Mother's Day. That was Christmas 1949.
Which I liked that they did that, because I was about to be real sad, because the whole time Blanche's mom kept confusing her with her sister Virginia.
Right.
And confusing dates and things like that.
Right.
But she did pull out of it at the end.
Yeah.
But it's still a pretty brutal scene. I mean, it had a happy ending. That flashback had a happy ending.
Right.
But, Blanche is losing her mom right before her eyes. She's remembering less and less, and she's not all there.
Yeah, I agree. And they have a couple of little funny quips as they're ending it out, and the mom goes, "Wasn't Virginia the slut?" And Blanche proudly goes, "No, ma'am, that was me."
Yeah.
She owns her sluttiness. But so that was that one. Now we're back to the present day, and Rose hangs up her phone call. And Sophia's like, okay, well, now can we go eat? And then Dorothy goes, nope, Michael hasn't called, her son Michael. So Sophia's obviously very hungry, despite what, everybody else is just waiting for their phone calls, doesn't really care about Sophia being hungry. And then Rose is now talking about a time she spent Mother's Day with someone else's mother on her way to St. Olaf to visit her kids. So now we're flashing back to like a bus station. And, Rose talks to the guy at the counter who's, I guess he's a little slow, or, he's not exactly with it. And so Rose decides to get her bus ticket, and then the woman that's sitting on the bench there overhears that she's going to, she's getting a bus that's going up to, she thought she's at Northern Falls. And she goes, oh, you going to Northern Falls? And Rose says, no, I'm going to St. Olaf. And then the woman says, oh, it's a charming little town, nice homes, but it's filled with idiots.
Yeah.
And Rose is sitting there like agreeing with her. And she goes, yeah, oh, there's nice homes. And then she says, filled with idiots. Yeah, what? It's like, she just agreed that.
But the lady, she's like, what do you mean all full of idiots? You mean saying everybody in there is an idiot? And she doesn't really backpedal, but
Right.
she says, oh, there's a lot of idiots per capita,
Right.
which is more than their fair share.
Right.
And Rose's like, oh, okay, so good.
Right. Now, I think it bears mentioning that there actually is a St. Olaf, Minnesota. It's a real town.
I didn't doubt that it was. I just never really looked into it.
Yeah, it is a real town. So I just hope the people of St. Olaf don't take offense to that, or didn't take offense to that.
What if they're like literally in the Stone Age and they don't have TVs or electricity?
I don't know.
Then they wouldn't really be offended because they don't know.
Anyway, so so the woman says, "Oh, I've been to St. Olaf before, 50 years ago, and it was a wedding of one of her distant cousins who married a local St. Olaf girl." Now, did you by chance get the name of this person?
I heard it, but after the fifth syllable, I tuned out.
Okay, so she was there to attend the wedding of her cousin and Sonia Jungenfraulich Steinerbrau. which I looked up online. Apparently, the translation doesn't amount to anything. I thought it might have been like some kind of funny German word translated to English, but it doesn't mean anything, sadly. But Rose was saying, "Oh, I know. I was at that wedding." Rose said, "I was the flower girl at that wedding, but sadly, we didn't have any flowers because of what happened to Old Man Smith, who was the town florist and the town blacksmith and the only black man in the town."
Yes.
Which I found irrelevant until she said the next thing. When Old Man Smith moved to St. Olaf, the town council decided to give him a traditional Scandinavian welcome by gathering on his front lawn, singing songs, and dressing up in bed sheets. Now, what do you think that meant?
To me, it sounded like everybody wears their bedclothes and they dance around and they chant and they sing. But in actuality, to this man, it looked like a clan gathering on his front yard.
So I wasn't the only one thinking that.
Where he then stroked and died.
He had a heart attack and spent his summer in intensive care, but
okay.
Same difference.
I didn't pick that that detail up.
Yeah, but anyway, then Rose says to the woman, "Oh, are you okay? You seem upset." And the woman says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a hearing aid." Like it's a little jab at just how boring Rose is being. And this is further supplemented by the fact that Rose starts talking about the wedding, and there's like this dissolve to make it look like a whole bunch of time has passed.
Well, they're waiting for the bus for an hour. The
Right.
bus will be here in an hour.
Right.
And then Rose just chatters on and on and on to the point where the window outside, it's now dark out.
Right.
So
I'll call you back. Yeah.
Not disturb.
Yeah. But so we'll call. So the bus obviously. Hopefully they didn't miss the bus, but the bus station is now showing as dark outside. So Rose obviously was prattling on for quite a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, some people can take it. I wouldn't be able to take that kind of rambling.
No. I mean, thankfully these days we have headphones, and we could pull out our smartphone and just say, hey, I got to go make a call. But back in the day, it was you were kind of at the mercy of however you could be polite at the time.
Excuse me, I have to return some videotapes.
Yeah, exactly. Out now that the lady at the bus station is actually going to visit her daughter, but her daughter has passed away, and her daughter is actually deceased, and she's going to the daughter's gravesite that she visits every Mother's Day. So, and she and her daughter used to hang out a lot, when she was alive, and so the mom said that she still goes there to spend time with her daughter even though she's passed. So I think that's very sweet.
It is sweet. However, we get a detail that she has snuck out of her nursing home.
Right.
So she's in her nursing home. She sneaks out, and the police are looking for her, and she doesn't want to go back. And then a cop does come in and sees her, sees that lady there on the bench, and Rose says, "Oh, that's not her. That's not who you're looking for. That's actually my mom. We're actually traveling together. Don't worry about this, officer. I've got this." And right at that time, the bus shows up, and the attendant at the counter says, "Oh, the bus is here. Everybody board the bus. All aboard." And Rose is like, "Oh, no. Don't worry about this old lady. That's my mother, officer. We're traveling together." So they get up and they go to board the bus, and the guy at the counter gives Rose a knowing smile, like, "Yeah, you did good, Rose.
Yeah.
You did real good." And Rose just leads her away, and the cop is left standing there. Several issues with this.
Me too, and I was just going to ask you, I mean, when a law enforcement official says you need to come with me, that's not a choice. You don't have an option. If a law enforcement officer says you are coming with me, you're kind of going with them. It's not up to you.
So Rose broke the law.
Right, and unless the cop said, "Do you need a ride someplace? Would you like to come with me?" That's a different story, but you need to come with me, or any sort of derivation thereof, it's not an invitation. It's not a request. It's not an option.
Yeah, so Rose, and this lady is in a rest home probably for a good reason.
Right.
Is she on any kind of medication? Rose just assumes that, I'll just take her to the to the gravesite and everything will be fantastic and just fine,
Right.
because it's a sweet, good thing to do because she does this every year.
Right.
But how long is she going to be there? Is Rose taking responsibility for her? How is this old lady getting back?
Right.
All of these things are she should not be out and about. She
Right.
is in a rest home for, again, good reason.
Right. Her heart's clearly in the right place, but, she wasn't thinking. She didn't have all the facts.
No.
So, I get it, though. I probably would have done the same thing. Or at least I would have offered to do the same thing. So anyway, now we're back to present day, and Sophia just really wants to go and get her buffet on. She's starving, and Dorothy says, "Well, hey, we can't go eat yet. I haven't gotten my call from Michael." So and then the phone rings, and sure enough, it's Michael. So Sophia sits down in Dorothy's chair, and Sophia's like, "Man, I'm tired of hearing these lousy Mother's Day stories." And, I think Blanche says, "Don't you have one?" And then Sophia's like, "Yeah, I'm tired of hearing the lousy ones." Now, interestingly enough, I found this to be the least interesting Mother's Day anecdote. So this was the lousy one for me. I don't know how you felt about this one moving into this one, but you wanna take us into this one?
Well, I felt the opposite of you.
Okay.
We are in the early 1900s. Sophia says it's like 1949.
I think, 1950, somewhere, Brooklyn, 1959. Brooklyn, 1959.
Okay. So we have Sophia is coming down. What's a nice looking, would you say, Victorian style home?
Yeah.
Furnishings and...
Yeah, and I mean, it was either a house or an apartment, but I mean, it looked very, very
Fancy.
high-end.
Fancy.
High-end, yeah, fancy. Definitely. And interestingly enough, we see Estelle Getty is actually in her natural makeup as opposed to looking like Sophia, because I was telling you before we started our show today, I was reading some Golden Girls trivia, and evidently Estelle Getty was younger than Dorothy, but she spent 45 minutes a day to get into the Sophia makeup to make her look older. So I thought this was kind of nice to let Estelle Getty be Estelle Getty, essentially, without getting all Sophia'd up,
Right. So she comes down the stairs. Her layabout husband is on the couch trying to nap. Sophia says, "Oh, my mom's coming over today. We have to get her to move in with us. She's not well. She'll be better if we take care of her if she moves in here. So let's ask her to move in. I need you to do this for me because she won't listen to me." And
well, also she wanted him to get off the couch because he was wearing like a tank top, wife beater undershirt, and laying on the couch with the newspaper over his face.
Yes.
So like he kind of needed to clean himself up a little bit, look a little more presentable.
Yeah. So then there's he goes and does that. There's a knock on the door, and it is a younger Blanche, not Blanche, Dorothy, a younger Dorothy, and Sophia's mother. And as it turns out, the actress playing Sophia's mother is B. Arthur, Dorothy,
right,
in a wheelchair, made up to look much, much older. And the younger Dorothy is played by another actress who, and based off of your reaction earlier, you would disagree with me, but I think she is a striking resemblance to a young B. Arthur.
I agree. And
you agree?
I do agree with that. And I really liked, I thought she did a great younger Dorothy.
I did also.
I really enjoyed that aspect of the scene, but the Sophia, the B. Arthur and Estelle Getty reversal, I wasn't feeling.
Oh man, I loved it.
My thing about it is, and maybe it's just me, but when I see B. Arthur on the screen and I know it's an episode of the Golden Girls, I always just jump right to Dorothy, and I feel like I'm looking at Dorothy, And she's, she was made up to look much older. She was sitting in a wheelchair. She, had very pale lips and pale skin. But to me, it looked like Dorothy being sick. I liked how they had a different actress playing younger Dorothy, but I don't know. It didn't completely work for me.
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
Okay, but basically the whole scene here is just the two of them trying to get Sophia's mom to move in, and they have there's a little exchange where, Sophia's mom starts to say, well, picture it, Sicily, 1889, and then Sophia, younger, goes, "Oh, not another story," and then her mom slaps her.
This is where I was expecting another flashback.
Okay, well, but they did the same kind of thing. They monologued about it, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't Inception flashback it.
Yeah.
So I liked that. And then then they're talking a little bit, and then same thing happens. Sophia starts to say something, and then younger Dorothy goes, "Oh, come on," and then she slaps her. So that's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's really it.
So now we're back to present day.
Yeah. But the point is they were trying to get Sophia was trying to get her mom to move in with them.
Right.
The husband comes out. He's got a shirt and tie on now. He looks a little bit better. He does a little bit of like an Italian, like, I'm
the king of the castle.
I'm the king of the castle. I want you to move in. She's like, you mean that? No, I don't mean it. Oh, but you said it, so I'm moving in.
Yeah, little manipulation.
Yeah, so I like that exchange. But everybody wins at the end. Everybody gets what they want. Now we're back in present day. We're back at the kitchen table.
Right. And phone rings, and Blanche's daughter, Janet, calls. And they were not expecting her to call. So, obviously Blanche is real happy about it. And Sophia just sees the writing on the wall. She's like, you know what? That lady's going to be on the phone forever. I'm just going to cook myself something. And she starts putting pots on the stove.
Yeah.
And Dorothy is like, Ma, you're making me feel guilty. And Sophia goes, it's Mother's Day. You celebrate your way. I'll celebrate mine.
Yep.
And that was and that's the end of
and then roll credits.
Roll credits. Yeah, exactly. So I really enjoyed this episode, and it's it's a great tribute to to the Golden Girls and to the moms out there. What would you say? What was your highlight, or what was one of your highlights?
I had a couple going into this at the end. My initial highlights was the relationship between Dorothy and Stanley's mom.
Yep.
That was like, oh yeah, that's a great relationship, because I love the fact that she's putting on this act for her son. She knows her son is a failure. She says a yutz.
Yep.
But she's happy that Dorothy married him because she's hard on him. She loves him, but she's hard on him, and she drives him, and she is good for her son. But when she's with her son, she knows he's a yutz, and she knows the world sees him that way.
Right.
But she needs him to know that she loves him regardless of that. And that's why she says, oh, you're the best. You're mommy's little angel. I love you so much. Everything you do is perfect. She does that to kind of drive him away as well.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that he's married Dorothy, and she treats Dorothy so poorly, so miserably, because if she liked Dorothy like she really does, if she expressed her true feelings, Stanley would be like, well, I mean, she likes Dorothy, so what?
So like
It's
everything
like
everything is totally fine. It's sort of like allowing Stanley to get the tough love that he needs, or the toughness that he needs, maybe that she didn't never provided or wished she had provided, but still allowing him to keep his distance.
Yeah, and I get the impression that this is the one and only time that Stanley's mom let Dorothy in on the secrets.
Yeah.
And in the future, if Dorothy ever tried to bring it up again, whether they're alone or not, she would never show her that side again.
Yep.
But that one time, yes, I'll give you money, I'll help you out, but I'm so mean to you because of Stanley.
Right.
Not because of you. I love you. You're the best thing that's ever happened in this family. It's the best thing that's ever happened to Stanley.
Right.
But I can never show it to you. I can never show you that that's how I really feel, because if I did, it would ruin Stanley for you. It would ruin Stanley for me. It would ruin Stanley for the world.
Sure.
So that, to me, that was my highlight. A
Cool.
close second, if I could just bring this up,
Sure.
was the last flashback scene, Sophia's flashback. I loved that top to bottom, but it didn't have the same impact for me as finding out Stanley's mom info. So
Yeah.
that's my highlight.
Okay, that's cool. So my highlight was not so much plot as it was just more of like the whole technique of the flashback approach. I really liked how they used that as a constructive. They used it as like a constructive, technique. It wasn't like just a bunch of previously filmed material that they said, oh, remember when we did this? And then there's, 10 minutes from another episode. Remember when we did this? And there's 5 minutes from another episode, where it took them 5 minutes to shoot the whole thing. Like it was a genuine episode with genuine material from the flashback. So I just really liked how they used the flashback, technique.
Yeah, it wasn't real. It was flashbacks, but it wasn't recycled material, and I liked that as well.
Right. Cool. How about a low light?
Couple of low lights, also, and I had two of them, but the one that really won out for me, is probably going to be, Blanche's mom. To me, it wasn't. It was just the slow, painful, awful descent into senility is for me not a failing of the show, but it's just that reality is pretty awful, and they smoothed over it pretty well. They kept it light and happy in this episode, but it's still a reality, and it's not always laugh tracks.
Right.
Sunshines, jokes, and rainbows.
Right.
But my other highlight, to just kind of bring us back up, and my other low light was Rose breaking the law and leading a poor old woman off to a possible life of crime.
Yeah, well, I mean, without knowing what the deal with that woman was, whether she was, had mental issues or anything, if she had a reason to be in that home, Rose just saying, "Oh no, you're coming with me," and leaving that cop just kind of standing there looking like a dunce. I didn't feel that.
Yeah, you're accepting responsibility for this, Rose. Are you really this stranger of a woman who's probably
she just happened to be at the wedding you were a flower girl in 50 years ago. She just happened to be there.
This beside the point. That's.
But wait a minute. Some of the math doesn't add up here, because if this woman, so let's just say in this flashback, Rose was, what do you think? 40, 45.
She did. She
50?
looked the exact same age.
Yeah, she looked the exact same, but
let's say 50s.
Okay, 50. So if she was like 50, I guess then it would make sense, because I was going to say she wouldn't have been the flower girl if, because Rose is currently in the show, she's like 70 something. So if this was within a few years of that, meaning she looked exactly the same, take 50 years, Rose would have been 20 years old, and you wouldn't be a flower girl if you're 20 years old in a wedding.
Really? I don't know the rules for that. What are the requirements for a flower girl?
Well, just think about it. Like every time you see a flower girl, it's usually like a little, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old girl. It's usually a little tiny girl. Like you don't see a grown woman dropping flowers at a wedding.
Well, this is St. Olaf too.
True.
Everyone there is a little special.
That's right. I mean? So maybe St. Olaf style wedding is like, the mother of the bride is the flower girl or something. Who knows?
Probably.
But anyway, my low light is I didn't really feel some of the casting. Like I some of the characters didn't come through for me. For example, Blanche's mom wasn't Southern Belle enough. Like she didn't put off that Southern properness that that Blanche exhibits. So, because I was kind of expecting Blanche's mom to be like a super Blanche or like a mega Blanche, and Blanche's mom seemed a lot more reserved. Now, granted, I know we're seeing her in a convalescent home and she's much older, but like some people still carry those elements of their character into the future when they're older, and you can still see it about them. I couldn't pick that up from her. Also we talked about the the scene back in Brooklyn 1959. I wasn't feeling B. Arthur playing Sophia's mom.